Welcome to Career Moving Opportunities for College Students, where the journey from campus to career begins. Hosted by Donnie Glover of Be More News, each episode explores how you can develop essential skills in creativity, leadership, critical thinking, and a growth mindset, all designed to enhance your college experience and prepare you for success in the workforce. Get ready to grow, lead, and create your future.
We'd like to welcome Mr. Quay Parker to the show. Hello, Quay. How are you?
I'm fantastic, Donnie.
Tell us your title and your education.
Quay Parker, VP of Operations, Equity One Lending, mortgage company, and now getting into the renewable energy space, a partner in a renewable energy company, Access Solar, which is doing clean energy in Maryland. So excited about that as well.
I think it's important to state that you are a serial entrepreneur.
Yeah, I've been doing this. I was in the mortgages for over 20 years, about 25 years. And I've dabbled in other things because, you know, you're an entrepreneur, you get curious, you want to try things. Some things were very successful. Some things were good, very good learning experiences. But all things work.
You had a TV studio.
Yeah, you know, it was ahead of its time. If you really think about it, we made the right predictions. We were probably just 4 years too early. We made the prediction back in 2005, 2006, that network television was going to become obsolete and user-created content would be the thing of the future. And people would shift to platforms like YouTube, and there would be other privately monetized networks that would produce programming. And people would need a place to do it. So we were very accurate with that, which is very early.
How does that fit into growth mindset? I'm hearing vision. I'm hearing thinking beyond the here and now. I'm hearing look at the trends.
You know, if you're not growing, you're dying. You're only in two stages of life. There's no such thing as stagnation. And when you're in business, you're observing things all the time around you. You're looking at opportunities, you're seeing voids. And really all business is the solving of problems. So I'm a poly guy. I went on to Coppin State, then to Merrill-Hirsch University with a degree in business. I don't want to give out background. And part of what you learn in the engineering format is to identify and solve problems. That's the whole concept of engineering. So if you're in a business setting, I think a lot of people make the mistake of going into business because of what they want to do versus how they can better serve. So when you're looking to provide service, you're looking for problems, you're looking for deficits, you're looking for ways you can improve things, enhance things. And in pursuing those enhancements and in pursuing ways to contribute, you're going to come across ventures. And there's so many opportunities around us every day, so many.
What do you mean?
If you look at things, you're growth-minded, you're looking at when you walk into a coffee shop, and you see little things such as what's holding the stirrers. People don't think about it, but the container for the stirrers could be a multi-million-dollar business. Who puts the tips on shoelaces? You know, this pen has a rubber top and eraser. Somebody might manufacture one part of the pen and sell it to the rest of to the company that makes the pen. When you're growth-minded, you're looking for ways to do more and contribute more, and ultimately serve more people. Because I think that's at the end of the day what it's about, is how many people we serve. And I think when in business, the scorecard is money, which is how much we're impacting the greater good of the people, how much we're serving. That's all money is. It's just a scorecard for how well we serve.
As a poly person, that means you're a systems person.
Yeah, I've been told that. Very much systems. Because you can't scale without systems. You know, a friend of mine, Mathino, and I were just having a conversation that there's a difference between a hustle and a business. Is the business continues when the person's not there, and the hustle stops when the person leaves. And the systems keep the business running, so therefore you can plug anyone into the business. And part of being growth-minded is thinking about even just surviving. You know, how does the business survive your lifestyle, whether you get sick, whether you want to go on vacation, whether or not you want to exit. And I think that's a big challenge we have in our community. We make businesses to own forever, which is noble, versus making businesses to be sold or to be acquired. Because even if you keep it, when you focus on building your business for the purpose of acquisition, you're focused on evaluation. You're focused on how to make the business work as much as it can be. But when you're focused on just growing a business to own it, you take the benchmarks and the milestones off of it, and the need for profitability and the value and stock in the business, and put that in the back burner. That's not really what it's about. It's a hobby at that point. So when we build for the purpose of it being acquirable, then you're thinking, I'm in this business so I can sell it for 10 times what I came into it for, or my family can if they don't want to. And that's what we're thinking. You have to look forward. We're not just thinking of today, we're looking forward. So that's one of the reasons why I'm looking at clean energy, just from a standpoint of the growth opportunity with the base I've already impacted for 20 some years. How do I help them improve their lifestyles? How do I help them increase the wealth they have for their family moving forward in their households? And then meanwhile, how do we have a business we grow that has a great exit as well? It's a lot of great entrepreneurs who have seen, Black entrepreneurs who have seen great benefit in the last years, just with their businesses being acquired partially or in full. And that's not something to sleep on. We're talking about multiple millions of dollars in acquisitions for Black businesses here in Baltimore, or private equity coming in. And that's ultimately the goal as well.
So would this apply also to business professionals? Say it's not an entrepreneur. Say it's a person who's someone's manager, someone's general manager. Must they have that same mentality?
If you're putting a manager in place, they should have the goal. And that's sometimes the challenge. Sometimes the business plan doesn't have a it's not a growth-oriented business plan. The mission of the actual company is not clear. The goal and the direction and trajectory of the business is not clear. So 1 second, please. And therefore, the managers can't buy into a vision that's obscure. Where if everyone's in the organization understands our goal is to 10x this company, is to get to a valuation of X by generating this many sales in this period of time, so that we can be worth this much in 5 years, then the managers you hire should be on the same page with that.
If the goals are obscure, if they're not written out, if they're not plain,
they're not smart. They're not specific. They're not measurable. You know, you're not going through the whole process. And they can look up some of them, stick them, break down the SMART. For everybody probably already knows it, but you have to have your vision for the company really clear for the people who work around you. That's necessary, absolutely essential.
You haven't said this, but what comes to mind is that good help is hard to find.
Good help is not hard to find. I would say defining help, defining what good is often the challenge. What I've found is bad hires are my responsibilities as a leader. If I don't know specifically what I want, it's very easy to pick up anyone and then be very critical. And to be very candid, as entrepreneurs, as leaders, we do a disservice to people by putting them in the wrong positions. Because when you're hiring somebody, you're taking on their family, you're taking on their livelihood, they're investing, and you know more about what they're coming into than they know what they're getting into. So I think it's more important that the leaders are very clear on the skill sets they need and what they're requiring from people before making the hires. And I find once you're very clear on what you need, the right people show up. When you really aren't clear on that, you entertain the wrong people and it's frustrating. You have a high turnover. And I've been down both roads where now I've learned that if I, as a leader, own the direction of the company and the vision of the organization, and I, as a leader, have identified the roles and capacities and people that it takes to get us there, then picking those people is just a matter of time and really pulling in that right profile person. But most of the time I can look back, it was, I made the wrong choices. What didn't work.
Can you give us an example?
A perfect example. I can give you probably more examples of bad hires than good. Because it takes time to learn it. Is, for example, if you identify that your goal is to exit and you need to move at a faster pace, then hiring people that are very sedentary or used to being in a slower environment might not be the right move. If you're a smaller organization where you don't have as many employees and you're hiring people from big organizations, those big organizations can let people specialize more and they don't need to be as nimble. One thing I heard in a documentary, Will Smith was talking about, he met Colin Powell. And in meeting Colin Powell, he said, "What's a general?" He said, "A general is the opposite of a specific." And what you find is in a lot of bigger organizations, people work in very specific tasks. They do certain things over and over again because of the volume. But in smaller organizations, you need people who are more nimble that need to do more tasks, a wider variety of tasks. And that means you need a person with a little bit more flexibility and versatility versus the ability to do things in repetition. Little things like that make a huge difference. Huge difference. Huge difference.
What's an example? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
What's an example of a good hire then?
A great hire is a person who identifies the vision of the company, feels it's something they believe in, and wants to do it. You've been able to effectively communicate. I feel that if I'm not able to communicate the role and the capacity that this person will walk into and what their life will look like in a position, I'm doing them a disservice because they're going in blind just based upon a paycheck. And no one's giving you an open-ended contract on their life. And they have to be passionate about it. Nobody wants to do something day after day they don't enjoy and are not passionate about it.
I'm gonna dig deep. We didn't put it out there that you are also a spiritual leader.
Yeah. I'm an elder in church.
With a growth mindset.
Yes.
What's needed from our significant other?
The significant other, as a man, and I'm gonna word this right, honey. If you're listening, you would agree with it. What's needed is the clarity of what everyone brings to the table, and a spirit of collaboration and not competition. I think inherently, dating life and the culture creates a competition, a competitive nature that often carries into marriages and relationships, and it doesn't have a place there. Where the spirit of collaboration is, and losing the sexist roles, is we're going in this direction. Your talents are this, my talents are this, my shortcomings are this, your shortcomings are this. How do we work together? You take your peanut butter and my jelly and make a great sandwich. And I think that's important. And I think it's very difficult to be in a relationship where you don't have a common vision, because then it's just a matter of romance at that point. I don't know if romance is enough to keep people together and to execute the things in life that are important to you once you go through the realities of being in a relationship. So I think it's important that you have a shared vision, a clear vision that everybody buys into and everyone feels a part of, invested in the success of it and the execution. And I think it carries over in everything. Is all alliances I have now have to be aligned with where I'm going. They have to be aligned.
So give me a scenario of a couple that with growth mindset. I imagine as a spiritual leader, you've had to counsel couples. And yes. one may be looking forward to the couple's first apartment, where the other might be looking forward to the couple's first estate.
You know what? And I'm not a pastor. I serve in church in ministry, so it's a little different. I'm not doing all the marital counseling on a regular basis and things, but I can give you an example of a couple that was in a tough space that we counseled. The husband, they had a child, younger child, and the wife was very much the caretaker of the child. And the husband was very much ambitious in pursuing. He was frustrated that his wife didn't seem to be as vested in the growth of the family or even in her own personal growth in her career. So she's frustrated because she's bored strapped to a toddler. He's frustrated because the love he was used to get, the child's getting a lot of, and they both are now understanding why they're there. So what I had to go back to is I said, who's the leader in the marriage, in the union, according to what you believe? How well have you communicated where you're going? Because how can a person follow you nowhere? If you haven't communicated ultimately where you're trying to go and the role that everyone's going to play and the importance, the question is, do you want children? Yes. Then who's going to raise them? If you're out running and chasing money all the time, who's going to be there with the kids? Where do children fall into that plan? Where does raising those children fall into the plan? Does she feel significant if she's in this role? Because people have to feel meaningful. It's not just about what's done task-wise. It's how people feel about stuff. And you cannot have relationships and remove the feeling aspect from it. These are people. We're not dealing with machines. So if she's playing an integral role in raising and bringing your legacy and grooming your legacy into the equation, where do you factor that value in? How do you reassure her there? How do you set the expectation? If you're carrying the financial part, how do you affirm her of what's there and what you're doing and how that contributes to the whole? It's all about setting the vision there and making sure everybody on board is on board with that vision. And when that happens, I'll tell you, it's a world of a difference. I even experienced it in my own marriage.
Okay, I'm getting ready to come with a curveball, and we're still talking about growth mindset. Have you seen a scenario where the woman has more of a growth mindset than the man?
Absolutely. And in some cases, there are relationships where the woman is the leader. I think a lot of things we take biblically as what a man's role should be and a woman's role is based upon society at the time and what was involved and the roles that women could play. It doesn't mean that the man is not the man from a spiritual and intellectual, in a spiritual and family matter. He's not the head of the household in that capacity. But it could mean that when it's time to go into business, baby, this is you. You're taking the lead. And I'm in the background. For example, if someone was to marry Halle Berry or a celebrity, you're not going to take the lead. She has a career. She's going to be the lead. You have to support her in that endeavor. And you can't, it's not about ego when you start talking about the task involved in the vision is totally different than the role you play in the union, in the relationship, in the household. So she might be the CEO for the venture that's carrying you all to the vision. And you might be the VP or her assistant. And that shouldn't change the fact that at the end of the night, you're still her husband. She's still your wife. She still needs you to hug her and say it's okay. She still has the same needs of a woman and you still have the same needs of a man. And that's the maturity in putting the vision first. And I think the problem is we're not mission driven. We're mission driven. This is where we're going. And we're committed to this. I wasn't a huge Will Smith fan. I go in and out depending on what he's doing. But he said something very clearly. He said, when I decided I wanted to be the biggest movie star in the world, everybody around me had to buy into that vision. Everybody I kept around me had to be on board with that vision. And everybody had to understand that that's where they wanted to go. And they had adequate benefit in me being the biggest movie star. We talk about Jada, but she had to buy into that. She had a career of her own. She had to buy into that. So we're not dealing with the world where women are kept in a box. In most cases, in the Black community, Black women out-earn Black men, period. Black women have jobs that Black men aren't even interviewed or entertained for. Black men are viewed as threats in ways that Black women aren't. And we can go into that for days. There might be pay disparities in some situations, but they're outnumbering Black men in colleges. They're outnumbering Black men in corporate America. And they're now outnumbering men in net worth, home ownership, and entrepreneurship. So the idea that Black women have been oppressed by Black men, I've never seen that happen. Big Mama always ran the house in our community.
Growth mindset. Quay Parker, any final thoughts, any advice to students out there considering entrepreneurship or professional career, a summary of growth mindset?
Come to serve. Come to serve, not to be served. And when you look to serve and you look to help, the value always is there and the reward's there. The problem is coming into business for ego out of passion is not a good reason. Look at how much you can contribute. And when you're contributing in any environment, whether in employee capacity or an owner capacity, you're adding value and your value will be rewarded.
Come to serve. I'm going to have to review this and find ways of applying this, because relationships can be challenging. You can be an entrepreneur and be married to a 9-to-5er, or vice versa.
It starts with life. When I changed my mindset from my clients are there to bring money to the business to I'm there to serve everyone I come in contact with and help them in some way or another, leave them in a better place, the money came. The struggle came when I was looking to get customers. The ease came when I said I'm a servant and I'm here to serve. So for everybody buying a house, I'm not too big to get on the phone and talk to them and talk, whether they have credit problems, whether they have all the money in the world, I'm here to serve. I'm here to help. I'm here to make the situation better. Same thing, renewable energy. How do I help? If you walk in a room with the mindset of how do I help whoever's here doing whatever you're trying to do it better, and I'm just here humbly to do that, very rarely you ask to see the door.
Great. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day. I appreciate you, and I am proud of you.
Man, anything for you, Donnie. Anything for you, brother.
Thanks for listening to Career Moving Opportunities for College Students with your host, Donnie Glover. We hope today's episode helped spark new ideas and practical strategies for building your skill set and shaping your future. Be sure to join us next time as we continue the journey from college to career, one opportunity at a time.